Hello and welcome up. Today we're talking about the concept of empire, that, besides being a Shakira song of 2014, is a very important political concept. The Britannica Encyclopedia defines empire as a major political unit in which the metropolis, or single sovereign authority, exercises control over a territory of great extent or a number of territories or peoples through formal annexations or various forms of informal domination. The concept is simple per se. The empire is a gigantic state integrating different peoples and territories within its borders. Still, there is at least another concept that comes to mind when talking about empires, and this concept is the colony. Colonies are territories of empires. These territories are controlled politically by a more powerful country, the founding unity of the empire, that is often far away from its colonies. There is also a hierarchical dimension between the central unity and colonies, but this is true for any empire. As a matter of fact, any empire, having colonies or not, has a dominating culture and people. By integrating colonialism, this means that there are substantially two empires, those with a territorial continuity and those without. The former are classic empires, the latter are colonial powers. Is there any difference in the political dimension, meaning the power structure, among these forms of empires? In short, the answer is no, because both are empires, but at the same time, it is yes. It is due to inconsistency or double standards. Let me explain. There is an emperor, and the emperor is basically a king ruling over an immense territory. In empires, emperors are unchallenged. This means, to use the terminology from previous videos, that the emperor is a monarch with absolute power. There might be a parliament that challenges the decisions of the sovereign, the monarch, but the power of the parliament is often non-existent, and the emperor can circumvent parliamentary decisions. Although this is not always the case. Think of Queen Victoria of Great Britain. She ruled a veritable empire from London. On the other hand, at the time Great Britain was an empire, but also a developing liberal democracy where the parliament and the prime minister had strong legislative and executive powers. This is where the major difference between empires with or without colonies applies. While in empire with territorial continuity the emperor's power is often unrivaled, this is not the case for empires with colonies. By the time Britain became an empire, the kingdom had undergone internal political changes. But that's where racism comes into play. If you consider other races as inferior, then you don't need to apply the same political standards that you apply at home, particularly if there is a wide distance between colonies and homeland. Hence, throughout the past 4 centuries, Western powers were able to exert this political double standard. At home, they were democracies. Overseas, they were absolute rulers disregarding human rights. As you may well know, this is true also for the United States of America. Yes, after World War II, standards had changed and colonies became independent worldwide, but the United States maintained an almost colonial stance throughout Latin America and the Middle East. They could not claim territories for them, as European empires had done in the past, but they could use the CIA to depose Middle Eastern leaders that were not following the capitalist mantra, were not selling oil exclusively to them, or simply had a strong anti-American stance. This also means that empires are very much alive, and they often use secret services to circumvent the rules of liberal democracy. A second clear element of empires is the cultural hegemony of a specific ethnic group. This means, for instance, that there is only one language in the empire, and while other languages may not be banned, they are not the language of the elite. This happens to create human rights violations and even discriminations against specific ethnic groups within the borders of the empire. Even in this case, racism plays a vital role. This idea of cultural hegemony was a very strong characteristic of the Roman Empire that on the one hand distinguished because of the power of its army, and on the other because of the use of Latin. At some point, Romans included different ethnic groups within their borders, and these people could easily enter the army. Through the army, they could learn Latin and, with years of service, earn the Roman citizenship. Stemming from this, you can also see how, for instance, both nowadays China and Russia are effectively empires. There is the immense territory ruled by an unrivaled dictator that calls himself president. There is an immense territory ruled with force, and there is the cultural hegemony of one ethnic group over the others. These elements all create an empire. Militarism is not a characteristic of empires per se. The Roman Empire had the army among its founding pillars, but this is not the case for present-day China, for instance. As of nowadays, it feels like the more a leader is secure, the less likely it is that he will wage wars. This is well exemplified by Russia, that has a chronic history of insecurity that often leads it to attack and annex neighbors. But clearly, this is a story for another episode. The lecture is over. I'm understanding politics. Thank you for watching.